Hello and welcome to the One-on-One podcast. If you're enjoying the show, consider signing up for the Patreon. There you get ad-free content, early access, exclusive episodes, and monthly supporter hangouts. You can find it at patreon.com/the One-on-One podcast. If you don't like the subscription-based models, there are other ways of supporting the show that are linked in the description. Thank you for tuning in and enjoy this episode.
They said it was forbidden. They said it was dangerous. They were right. Introducing the Paranoid American Homunculus Owner's Manual. Dive into the arcane, into the hidden corners of the occult. This isn't just a comic. It's a hidden tome of supernatural power. All original artwork illustrating the groundbreaking research of Juan Ayala, one of the only living homunculologists of our time. Learn how to summon your own homunculus, an enigma wrapped in the fabric of reality itself, their power at your fingertips, their existence, your secret. Explore the mysteries of the Aristotelian, the spiritual, the Paracelsian, the Crowleyan homunculus. Ancient knowledge lost to time, now unearthed in this forbidden tale. This comic book holds truths not meant for the light of day. Knowledge that was buried, feared, and shunned. Are you ready to uncover the hidden? The Paranoid American Homunculus Owner's Manual, not for the faint of heart. Available now from Paranoid American. Get your copy at tjojp.com or paranoidamerican.com today.
Welcome to the One-on-One podcast with your host, Juan Ayala.
That reminds me of also an experience where this hole appeared in my room, and I was told that that is a knowledge rabbit hole, that you can go in it, but the deeper you go, the longer you're going to be in this realm tonight, unfolding the information that came through. And I said, you know what? I'm going to go in it. So I looked in there, and my face just stretched out down the rabbit hole, and my whole face was going down, deep down into this dark cavern that opened up into my floor. And I just had the intuitive feeling like, okay, that's going to be a lot. I should stop now. And I felt my face just coming back to my head. And when it did, this explosion occurred in my brain of I just knew there was these downloads coming through, and I was going to have to sift through a lot of information. And I went through like 4 or 5 different lifetimes. I was shown what's outside the astral realms, the creation floors. I saw these little elves painting reality. It was insane for hours. I couldn't move. I was just being downloaded with information. I was being shown different incarnations, and it probably the whole experience was about 4 or 5 hours, but it seemed like I was in there for days, just sitting on my bed, unable to move, information just coming through.
Welcome back to another episode of the One-on-One podcast. I'm your host. As always, make sure to follow the show on social media at the One-on-One podcast on all social media platforms, tjojp.com, chosenjuan.com for the Kickstarter of issue 2, and also tjojp.com to get your own Homunculus Owner's Manual, only found on there. Make sure to check that out. And yeah, if you're listening to this on the RSS feed, leave a 5-star review. We'll be reading those on the show. Also, if you want to call in, 407-476-4606. Call in, leave a message. Let me know what you thought about this episode, or let me hear any story. Keep it short, 3-minute time limit. Also, what else? Yeah, if you're listening to this on YouTube, make sure to thumbs up, subscribe, share the show, all that good stuff. And welcome back for the fifth or sixth time. I don't know how many times. Does it matter how many times? Chris Mathieu from Forbidden Knowledge News. What's up, dude?
Hello, man. Thank you so much for having me back on. Always a wonderful discussion. I am ready to get weird with you, brother.
Yeah, dude. Can you tell people I started watching your documentary today. Can you tell people where they can find that?
You can find the Forbidden documentary, Occult Louisiana, on Tubi right now. Just go search for that and sit down, grab your popcorn, and give it a watch and a thumbs up. We're stoked about it. Just dropped. It dropped on a couple of other streaming platforms, like Fossum Free Movies and actually Bigfoot TV, oddly enough. So they've got some, it's out there on a few streaming platforms. So I hope you enjoy that. And yeah, we'll be starting production on our next film this month. And we're stoked about that as well.
Nice, dude. And also you have the podcast. People can find it any podcast
People
platform?
can find the Forbidden Knowledge News on any podcast platform. Our website is forbiddenknowledge.news. Also on Rockfin and Rumble. Yes.
Awesome. And what have you been looking into lately, Chris? Because I know last time I was on your show, I went off on this whole thing of the mimetic magicians, and I talked for the whole hour or whatever it was. But what have you been looking into? It's your turn to talk a little bit on my show.
Well, I have been looking into something that I've been looking into this a while, and we've probably discussed a little bit of this before, but I've been doing a lot of consciousness exploration, research into psychedelics, the effects on the mind, the phenomena of contact when in altered states. I've also been very interested in near-death experiences, life after death, the nature of spiritual contact in general, and what these intelligences are that we seem to be able to communicate with in different instances, whether it's dream states, altered states, psychedelics, being abducted, anything that is contact with non-human intelligence and has to relate to our life experience here, because so many people that have had contact experiences and profound spiritual experiences, it has changed their life in profound ways. Unless they completely shut it out and choose to ignore it, it's going to change your life. And most of the people that I've spoken with, it's changed their lives for the better. Some people, not so much. It depends on their perspective of what's happening. So that's really what I've been looking into lately. I've been growing my own magic mushrooms for years, so I dive deep into that research and those realms personally. So I've come into contact with many different intelligences in these realms, and I've had what I consider these profound out-of-body and astral experiences during these mushroom meditative states. And I've learned a lot, and I actually where I'm at today and what I'm doing and how I'm doing it to the use of meditation and magic mushrooms. So that's where I'm at with my stuff, man.
What do you know? Because I don't know if we talked about it on the last show we did where Pasolka was on Rogan. I don't know. Have you had her on yet?
I've been trying. She responded a couple of times. We had something set up. She had to reschedule. It is difficult to get in touch with this woman, but I'd love to have her on though. Yeah.
Because it's interesting you're mentioning this concept of the changes that people go through. We talked about the Kerr law cell workings on last episode I did with you, where they wanted to induce an abduction, and through that he was able through the stuff that I told you after we were off air, all that craziness. Like he was able to induce an abduction, and from that he was able to extract some sort of knowledge, or he was impregnated with the numerical parasite, all that. But it's interesting that people change after they encounter these entities on the other side. And do you know anything about CE5 at all? Is that Greer that talks about
that's
the CE5?
Greer. I'm familiar with it, and I'm kind of, I consider Greer a little sketchy. It's kind of cultish what he's involved with and some of the things that he's doing, but it's interesting some of the results that I've heard of and that I've seen from this kind of meditative contact type experience where people are just going out into open fields and having this intention of contacting their galactic brothers and sisters, and they start to see little flashes and UFOs and lights in the sky. And I've never I've never done this myself, no. And I've never really had a profound UFO sighting or experience like that.
You called it a UFO?
A UFO, man.
So, and it's interesting because there are some of these groups, right? Like Pasoka talked about it, the Rosicrucians. I think she talked about it. The Rosicrucians, that they practice these techniques. And again, I think that psychedelics is a part of that equation, if you will, a part of that thing. But I think you're able to do that within your own self. And it goes back to the Chinese alchemists, that they saw the body as some sort of alchemical vessel, if you will, that's able to process things, and it's able to be in. They had their versions of these entities that they called the three. I forgot what they call it, the three-legged something, or I'll have to find out what it is. But these weird, almost demonic-like entities that are able to take over, and your body's able to. Essentially, it was like a microcosm of the macro, and they viewed and I'll pull up a picture here of Chinese internal medicine, of internal alchemy. And they saw the body as a vessel. So and I'm talking about a vessel in the alchemical sense of being able to process things, because, you know, when you're in alchemy, you're creating tinctures, elixirs, et cetera, et cetera. And I think that we're able to make these substances, if you will, in our own body, and we're able to tap into that source or whatever it is, right? Because have you ever extracted any information that these entities have given to you and that you were able to actually use in this reality at all? Have you ever had a download where it's like, oh, boom, I can, because I've had dreams, bro, where I have like the father of the supercomputers, something Sycamore, I forget his name, Seymour something or other. I'll find his name here. I'll look it up. I have a supercomputer right now. And whenever he would have a problem, he would go tunneling under his house, because I guess tunneling was a hobby back then. He would go tunneling, so digging tunnels under your house. And he says that these little goblins, these little elves, would show themselves to him and solve his problems. But I've gone to sleep before with the intention of having with the intention of finding a solution to my problem, and I've had a dream about the solution to my problem, which I've applied in real life in the waking state to that problem, and I fixed it. Have you ever had any of that before?
Oh, man, constantly. And it started, it could even go back to the first sort of meditative contact experience I had before I even started with the psychedelics. I'm pretty sure I told you this before on your show. But since the very first time I made contact with what I understand is my higher self, this voice that propels me to do better, that seems to know things that I don't about myself or my past, present, and future, and just like a spirit guide in a way. But I just understand it as my higher self, my deepest subconscious that may have access to some sort of infinite cosmic knowledge that really guided me along the way. And it all started with that first meditative experience that said you need to quit your job and start doing Forbidden Knowledge News full time. Follow your passion, just do it, but you got to do a few things first. You got to heal childhood trauma. You got to quit getting in these up traumatic relationships. You got to do this and heal this mental state and do that. And if I wouldn't have listened to that, I wouldn't be where I'm at. So I started listening to this voice that was giving me the instructions on how to better myself and how to achieve my goals and do things like that. And it would be upgrades each time. Each experience would be different information. If I would go through my processes of healing trauma, getting out of certain mental situations that I was in, toxic relationships, if I would actually do the work, then the next thing would be I'd get even more profound information about the next steps I'd be taking in my life. And it'd manifest even when I wasn't in altered states, in my daily routine, synchronicities. Things would just start to happen that I'd recognize, and I'd be like, oh, that's connected to the message I had last night, and that means I need to do this. And I'd start to be able to connect these dots of how I was showing myself reality worked, how to connect everything, how energy works, how what I put out there will come back. And if it's negative, it'll come back negative, and I can perpetually f myself if I keep putting out negative energy. And I would just keep learning new things about pretty much how to manipulate my own reality and make it better for myself. And I'm still doing that with each new experience. And even though there are times when it seems like I'm in contact with, some might consider it outside intelligences. I don't think there are any outside intelligences. I think they're all part of us. I think they're all inside of us. The cosmos, I believe, is inside our mind, inside our consciousness. We're connected to it all, but it's also all part of us. That's just where I'm at right now with everything. And I think that these intelligences are all there for us to learn from. But even if it's the darkest, most demonic, negative, dark polarity, we're supposed to learn from it. We're not supposed to connect to it. We're not supposed to gravitate towards it. We're not supposed to become dark. We're supposed to, it's like a pinball machine. We're supposed to bounce off the polarities and learn from them. If we get into a dark situation, we're supposed to learn from it and bounce back towards the light instead of just sink deeper into that dark situation. And that's what I've come to learn is whatever these intelligences are that surround us, aliens, extraterrestrials, angels, demons, egregores, archetypes, whatever you want to call them, they are all a part of our internal consciousness cosmos, and they're here for us to learn and grow. And whenever I have magic mushrooms and I go into an altered state, I'm able to recognize these intelligences, kind of swim through those cosmic waters and connect to different types of intelligences to learn different things. And I can sense whether this thing is negative or not. So I would, choose not to interact with certain things or choose to interact with things more than others. But it's mainly, I have this advantage, I call it, of my higher self being there with me and saying, are you sure you want to do that? That might be a up thing to do. It's kind of like a guide along with me just to make sure I don't dive into something too dangerous. It's like my protection. So it's very interesting, the way I've been navigating these consciousness waters here.
I'm going to show you here real quick what I was talking about with the internal alchemy and these Chinese Taoists. So here's the little golden man, the little homunculus inside this monk, and they viewed the human body as a microcosm, right? So here's the head, here's the spinal column, and everything was connected to something. This is how they viewed the body inside. And this is, again, another depiction of that. Now, what's interesting is here's the spinal column, everything. And the Chinese alchemists were more involved with finding elixirs to immortality. So it's interesting that this is some of the oldest form of alchemy, and they were more concerned with living forever. And these are the three corpses that I was talking about. These Taoist sociological belief that demonic creatures live inside the human body and they seek to hasten the death of their host. These three supernatural parasites allegedly enter the person at birth and reside in the three Danxia energy centers, respectively located within the head, chest, and abdomen. After their human host dies, they are freed from the body and become malevolent ghosts. So think about that, almost like the Nephilim, right? If the Nephilim, after they, but then this would kind of insinuate everyone has demons within themselves, almost like these little homunculi. I don't know if you've seen Homunculus yet on Netflix, but there's a depiction here of these things. Let me find it. Of these things like floating around. There's one of them that, anyway, shows them just floating around. And there you go. So again, this is Taoist alchemy, Taoism. And
dude, that makes sense to me, that these things would be like parasites inside of us, and that if we keep feeding them negativity and we keep going down the wrong path, that they're going to get stronger. But at the same time, it shortens our physical manifestation here. But if we nurture the other types of, you can call even the good things parasites, or these attachments, or the the positive entities out there that help us and provide positive energy and paths for us, if we nurture those more than the negative parasitic entities, then we may have a chance at living longer, having these advanced consciousness abilities and connections that possibly our ancients had. It's very interesting, man.
The way, and it's interesting because the way to defeat, and I did a research on this a long time ago, in order to defeat these entities, you have to achieve immortality. So that's why they were choosing to focus on the elixir of immortal life, because they wanted to be able to expel these creatures, these entities out of their body, because once they were able to live forever, then they won, right? And it's interesting because as a kid, I was always taught that we would have had immortality if it wasn't for Adam and Eve in the Garden of Eden, because everything was good, right? It was the paradise. Everything was fine. And then obviously we fell. The tree of knowledge of good and evil. So once we learned that, that's when we eventually we were kicked out of the Garden of Eden, and we lost that immortality. And it makes sense, right? If we would have kept that, maybe we wouldn't have these freaking little demonic looking things. And the other guy was Seymour Cray, which is the father of the supercomputer, and the father of supercomputing, I'm sorry. And he would allegedly, right, while I'm digging in the tunnel, the elves will often come to me with solutions to my problem. So right here, another favorite pastime was digging a tunnel under his home. He attributed the secret of his success to visits by elves. Bro, what? Wow. Visits by elves. And it just makes you wonder, like, are these elementals? Is this what from, I don't know if I asked you, but I think we talked about it a little bit on the last show. Do people get downloads from Bigfoot? They do, right? They get information?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. All the time. I have guests on that say they're constantly communicating with Bigfoots and getting downloads. I want to go back to what you were saying for a second about what we're connecting to out there, and people in, say, Silicon Valley and the nerd dork technocratic elites that are trying to lead us into this technocratic age. A lot of them are using psychedelics. A lot of them are using things like LSD.
Are they really still? Like, is that a thing right now?
That's definitely a thing right now. Yeah. And for me, I used to use LSD a long time ago, mainly when I was a teenager, early 20s. And I had stopped doing that for the longest time. And when I recently started doing my psychedelic research again with magic mushrooms, I really didn't want to, wasn't interested in LSD and any of that. I came across it one day, and just out of curiosity, I tried it again after all these years. And it was after I had been using magic mushrooms. And the experience was very unpleasant for me. It seemed very dark and disconnected from nature, from God, if you will. And I think, well, if the CIA was really behind making LSD and distributing it, and the intention was something of man or even something nefarious, that is still going to be the carrying intention behind this substance to this day. And it felt very cold and disconnected. It also felt like I was connecting with something non-human, but more technological without a soul. And it was quite terrifying. So I really would never go and do that again. But it makes me wonder what these nerd dorks in Silicon Valley are connecting to whenever they are having their experiences and getting inspiration for the next technological advancement, the next level of the metaverse. What are they connecting to for their inspiration? It's not anything of nature, I wouldn't think. It's not anything that people would consider traditional spiritual connection to something like source. I think it's something colder and darker, and it's leading them down a very dark path where they want to ultimately lead the rest of humanity.
This makes me think, I was reading Kenneth Grant today, and they call it preternatural intelligences. and it's right in which appears outside or beside the natural, quote, suspended between the mundane and the miraculous. So in theology, it's often used to distinguish marvels or deceptive trickery, often attributed to witchcraft or demons, from purely divine power of genuinely supernatural origin that transcends the laws of nature. So preternatural is also used to describe, look at this, gifts such as immortality, possessed by Adam and Eve. Look at this. We were just talking about this before the fall of man into original sin, and the power of flight that angels are thought to have. In the early modern period, the term was used by scientists to refer to abnormalities and strange phenomena of various kinds that seem to depart from the norm of nature. And they talked about, Kenneth Grant and the Typhonian OTO, they talked about being in contact with preternatural entities, intelligences. And I was listening to this lecture today by Michael Staley where he was giving examples of these downloads and transmissions. He mentions Moses, right? Moses was getting a download. Now, I'm not saying that God is a deceptive trickery, right? I'm just saying outside influence from outside space and time. God transcends that. God is greater than that. So Moses getting the download for the 10 Commandments, John D. and Enochian, Crowley in his Book of the Law, or Iowas in his Book of the Law. And then you had Kenneth Grant also receiving downloads, bro, from an arachnid spider entity that took over their seances at the Isis Lodge, bro. So we have this weird spider demon thing, interdimensional spider. And it's interesting that it's an interdimensional spider because Adam Sandler's coming out with a movie this week of him being in touch with an extraterrestrial spider. So I don't know what they're trying to tell us, but I've also heard from in the esoteric streets that Masons actually worship a spider god of some sorts, bro. So
all right, so I got to tell you about this while you're saying spider god. I had an experience, all right, where I came into contact with this intelligence that claimed to be God, and I automatically knew. I was like, no, this isn't God. And it's like, yeah, you just don't see it yet. You just let me talk to you for a little while. You'll see that I'm God in a little while. And I'm also a woman, by the way. I was like, okay.
Wait, hold on, Chris. Hold on. You can't just brush over that. So you're having a psychedelic experience where you're a woman, and then you're
no. I'm this intelligence starts speaking with me, and it says, I got to talk to you. I'm God. And I knew right away, no, this isn't God. And it also says, oh, by the way, I'm also a woman.
Okay. But that's
not me. The intelligence is a woman.
Chris,
I still always realize I'm a dude, and I am.
It's okay if you identify as a woman, bro. I'm not going to judge you, bro. It's all right, dude.
Not this time I didn't. But anyway. So this intelligence, it proclaims that is a woman god, and it's the god of all. And it starts telling me, well, how could a male god produce life? Oh, it's only, us women have the womb and we're able to carry life. And we had a conversation for a couple of hours. And this usually happens when a nefarious, nasty entity tries to communicate. I start to just get this weird feeling overtaking me. And I start to see the entity in my mind. And I started to see spider webs. And then I started to see legs. And I started to see that it was trying to wrap a cocoon around my brain as we were speaking. And I said, hey, I see you. And it's like, what do you see? I said, I see what you are. And it's like, no, it's all right. Let's talk some more. And I said, no, we're not talking anymore. And I was able to banish it, actually, with the name of Christ, which I often use. And I've been taught to use this because it's a tool that works in these realms. For whatever reason, it works. And this thing just started unwrapping, took off, scared as hell. And it was an interesting experience that you said that some of these people worship fucking spider gods. So that's pretty crazy, man.
Yeah, I'm going to find here the excerpt that I got sent one time because I forgot where I had first heard about it. I thought it was a conspiracy, like, oh, they actually worship a spider god. I'm like, bro, because I think Asmodeus Let's look up what Asmodeus looks like, which is he's one of the princes of hell. And if I'm not mistaken, in some depictions he looks like he's a demon king. And in some of the depictions, he looks like a spider of some sort. Is it this guy? Anyways, maybe it's not this guy. Maybe it's one of these other demons. But anyways, there's one that looks like I thought it was this one, but it's not. There's one that looks like a spider. I'm gonna have to look for it. It's one of the demon princes of hell of Goetia.
Yeah.
Depictions. Let's see here if we can find it.
It was crazy, man, because it had this feminine energy. Even as it started manifesting into a spider in my mind's eye, it was like a female spider, but I could just feel the nastiness and the intent to deceive as I was able to picture this thing. It was crazy.
So, and it's interesting that this looks like the king that just, right, that is sick allegedly. And who did we have just pass away recently?
We had, the Rothschild. Jacob Rothschild.
That is a lizard person, 100%,
yes.
bro. You can't tell me otherwise. That's not a lizard person. But we have this weird looking thing here, and this is Baal or Baal. Baal is a demon described in demonological grimoires such as the Lesser Key of Solomon and the Pseudo Monarchia Daemonum. What is this? So this is the first time I've ever heard of this. Where he is the first spirit mentioned, and also the Dictionary Inferno. He is described as a hoarsely voiced king with the power to make men invisible, ruling over 66 legions of demons. The Lesser Key of Solomon describes him as appearing in the form of a cat, toad, man, some combination thereof, or other diverse shapes. Diverse shapes, that's interesting. While the Pseudo Monarchia Daemonum and the Dictionary Inferno state that he appears with the heads of a cat, toad, and human simultaneously. Are we going to ignore the spider part of it, or we're going to know that he's like a spider being?
Yeah, all man. Right. It looks like he's got Jacob Rothschild's head there.
Well, those people are 100% demons, bro. There's no other way about it. But here we have this grimoire, which is False Monarchy of Demons. First appears as an appendix to this thing. Interesting. I'll have to look into this. But yeah, these are the 69 demons, bro. Hey, bro. These demons are getting weird, bro. So, yeah, and I'll find it was one of these message I got sent on Telegram. And they're like, hey, I'm at my buddy's house, and he has this book where it mentions the Masons actually worship this arachnid entity. And it's interesting because one of the first spider goddesses, if you will, that's part of it, weaving reality into existence. And if you look on Bohemian Grove, what is it? Weaving spiders not welcome. So it's like, what are you getting? And they're like, well, that just means not talking about business outside. So I was like, does it really? You think that these freaking people, dude, that they're in this club and they're just like, yeah, just use all this esoteric symbolism. And these are these Rothschild types, right? The Bohemian Grove, you have Rumsfeld, you have all these guys. You have the guy from the Titan submarine. His dad was a frequent goer of the Bohemian Grove. He was also an attendee at Bohemian Grove. So there's something about these types. And
man, I think they have these different obscure intelligences out there that demand worship, and they form their own spirituality that infects people. And these entities just do their own thing, and they have their own weird requirements of people whenever they interact with them or attach to them. Say that, for an example, this Baal entity, if there are secret societies that worship this entity, it's probably one of maybe hundreds or thousands out there that require different types of worship, different type of sacrifice, different types of interaction, different types of ritual. That's probably why these different types of secret societies exist, and these different ruling factions don't always agree on what the outcome of reality should be. It's because they're connecting to these weird forces out there based on their different belief systems.
And shout out to Nick Hinton, right? It wasn't from Nick Hinton that I had heard about this, but he did do a thread on it where in South Park, the god of the Vatican is a giant spider. The Vatican is run by Freemasons who allegedly worship Jalbulon, this is the one that I'm talking about, Jalbulon, the architect of the universe, who also looks like a giant spider. Eight-legged creatures represent the Saturnian demiurge because 8 represents infinity. So this is like that thing that we were just Baal. Yeah. That is a weird looking thing, but obviously when you look it up, it doesn't say anything about it. It's like no, right? Baal, strength. So that's where you get that spider looking thing, is a word which is allegedly used in some rituals of royal arch masonry and derivations thereof. Non-Masonic authors alleged that Jalbulon, I want to say like this, Baal, whatever, is a Masonic name for God, and even the name of a unique Masonic god. Despite Freemasonry's official claim that there is no separate Masonic god. I mean, if I was accused of worshiping a separate entity, this is probably something that I would say, like, nuh-uh, like, I'm not worshiping extracurricular. Because, dude, that's one of the things we've always trusted, that in God we trust is, like, God, you know?
Yeah.
and who knows, you might be worshiping
all these entities probably think they're God of some sort, want to be God. Yeah. So you don't know what you're connecting to, man.
Exactly. It's crazy. You don't know, and you have to take other people's word for it, and that's why it's so dangerous, because you're taking other people's word for it. So, according to Masonic historian Arturo de Hoyos, Hoyos is like another word for ass in Spanish. The word Jabulon was first used in the 18th century in early French versions of Royal Arch degree. It relates to the Masonic allegory in which Jabulon was the name of an explorer living during the time of Solomon, who discovered the ruins of the ancient temple. Within the ruins, he found a gold plate upon which the name of God, Yahweh, was engraved. Interesting. Okay, so again, one of these other like Masonic weird people in their trilogy that they have, right? Like since they were associated with Aram Abif or Solomon or all these other guys, they're part of their pantheon, if you will. Yeah. So, or you have the Baal. I mean, we saw that earlier, bro. Where's Baal? Baal? I don't know. Maybe this is different faces of the same entity. You know what I'm saying? Like, this is Super Saiyan 3 and the other one is like Super Saiyan 1. But they're still one and the same. Yeah. Right?
Yeah. I think that we deal with that type of trickster a lot whenever we're in those realms. And I'll tell you firsthand, I don't recommend to anyone doing any type of consciousness exploration with psychedelics unless they have an understanding, first of all, a respect and understanding of what they're doing. But second, I'd recommend a spiritual connection to what you understand as your spirit guides or higher self. Because once you get into those waters and you don't have anything to guide you through and you're going in there just without any protection or anything like that, you're subject to influence of whatever intelligence is floating around there and decides to interact with you, because you're putting yourself out in these astral realms. When you take these substances, you have one foot in another dimension, in these other types of astral realms that just surround us at all times, and they're swimming with every type of intelligence you can imagine. And if one of these things realizes that you're in there unprotected, I believe that's how possibly possession could happen. That's how depression could happen. That's how falling into drug use, just attaching to this negative wavelength that gives you a certain perspective. It starts feeding you thoughts, starts feeding you ideas about how to proceed with things, how to proceed with your life. And if this entity doesn't have your best interest in mind and maybe just wants to feed off you, attaches itself to you, then that entity is going to be with you during every experience that you have. And this has happened before. I've experienced entity attachments that my guides allowed to have so I could learn from the experience. There was a time when I had a spiritual attachment. I was depressed for a while, didn't know what was going on. And I went and had a mushroom experience, got in contact with my guides, and they were asking if I understood why I was depressed and that this would be a learning experience, that I had a dark negative attachment feeding on my energy. I had to learn how to recognize it, banish it, and prevent it from coming back again. So these things can happen. And if you don't have that protection with you, you're going into dangerous territory. And it's very interesting what's happening in places like Colorado here. They're like legalizing mushrooms. They're starting to have the access to healing centers where people can just go in and have guided treatments with mushrooms, but eventually it might lead to just dispensaries where people can go in, pay money, and grab a bag of mushrooms and leave, which is really terrifying to me, considering that most people probably don't have the understanding of what is really occurring, what they're dealing with, the profound powers, what it can do to a person's mind if they're not prepared. So it's very interesting what is going on with psychedelics, and I'm wondering if it's being allowed to a certain degree because most people just have no idea what they're dealing with.
You're in Colorado, right, Chris?
Yeah.
Do you think that the stuff that they're creating is all GMO and all like not? Because I mean that's one of the reasons why I grew my own mushrooms as well, because I don't trust the right what this guy
I
on
wouldn't
the street.
try. I wouldn't buy. I'm always just going to grow my own, but I don't know. You don't know where those are coming from. I know a few other growers that actually have their own farms out here, and they harvest their own spores so that we always know where it's coming from. No need for any of us to go to if they'd have a dispensary out here, but other folks, if this ever comes to fruition, which it looks like it will, the legislature seems to be moving forward. So it's kind of disturbing to see if, just your regular hippie Joe goes in there that has no understanding of what he's dealing with. And especially if they are, like you said, altering or GMO magic mushrooms, that's kind of scary, because what they do want to do pharmaceutical wise with them is extract the spiritual component and get rid of that, and just use psilocybin as a form of pharmaceutical for treatment of depression or something like that. But you get rid of that spiritual component, you're getting rid of the whole purpose of the damn mushroom.
That is the medicine. Like the spiritual aspect is the whole medicine, and you throw that out and you just have this. Now you're raw dogging the astral realm, and you're gonna get one of these freaking skinwalker STDs that, you know what I'm saying, like the spider god sees you. And so this is the book that I got sent. It's called The Holy Royal Arch. Candidates for initiation into the ancient mysteries had to go through. Were also imitated into the Royal Arch, but few, if any, lodges now practice these tricks. Fit only for Christmas pantomimes. The candidates, after taking the oath, declare that they come in order to assist at the rebuilding of Solomon's temple. And think about this. Think about, like, I'm not a Mason, nor do I care to be, but think about this. To assist at the rebuilding of Solomon's temple. So it seems like this place to them is still, so talking about altered states, let's get a little bit deeper. Talking about alternate dimensions, alternate realms. To me, in my opinion, I think that these places, right, the Solomon's temple is still around, and I think that these Masons are able to access these realms through the use of ceremonial magic, through the use of reenacting these things. And there's something powerful about reenactment. There's something powerful about experience, right? We're talking about the phenomenological approach to things. So they're putting themselves in the story, if you will, and they're acting it out and bringing it to life. So to assist at the rebuilding of Solomon's temple, whereupon they are furnished with pickaxes, shovels, and crowbars, and retire. After a while, during which they are supposed to have been at work and to have made a discovery, they return and state that on digging for the new foundation, they discovered an underground vault into which one of them was let down and found a scroll, which on examination turns out to be the long-lost book of the law. So they're finding texts in these other realms, bro, right? Remember what I talked to you about? He went into the tunnels of Set. Well, they've also extracted books from the tunnel of Set. One of those being, take a wild guess, Chris, the Book of the Spider. Okay.
What?
The Typhonian OTO extracted from the tunnels of Set, the Book of the Spider. Okay. So just
Now, are they just going into altered states and writing the information that comes out, or are they actually pulling out a magic book from a portal or something?
I've talked to Tony Merkel, and he's told me that he knows of some. I don't know how I'm even supposed to say this, but he's told me he knows of some people who have a book that is from this other realm, this other dimension.
Yeah.
I told him to get it. I said, bro, put your money where your mouth is. Have these people on, because I don't know. Have you seen 30 Coins on HBO?
No.
It's a show from Spain. It's in Spanish, but in one of the episodes, there's a book so they're in a room and they can see the book in the mirror, but it's not in the actual room that's reflecting in the mirror. So it turns out that the mirror is another realm. And long story short, kind of spoiler, they use mirrors to travel interdimensionally. So these people allegedly have a book that is from another realm. Now, here we have this from Freemasonry, where they're talking about a long lost book, going in there and finding it. Again, you asked the question, Chris, is it metaphorical? Is it literal? We don't know. And that's the kicker, bro. We don't know.
Well, what I can compare it to, as far as my experiences, there are times when it seems like I am in a learning space and I will be told to grab pen and paper and take notes, and they will start dictating some things that I should be doing in my life. Sometimes I'll go in there for inspiration for my films, for inspiration on how I can adjust things with the show to make it more successful. And I'll grab a pen and paper and my guides will go off, and by the end of the experience I will have a notepad full of information that I basically pulled through from the other side. And that's my way of bringing these quote unquote books of information through. And not only that, I've had experiences of stories of myself from past lives and past incarnations, which apparently are still unfolding. They all unfold simultaneously somehow. It's like, the pages of a book or the ridges of a handheld fan, they're always there. They have these different realities that merge and bleed together. But as far as the information that comes through, I've had very profound experiences where I will even be shown myself in a different timeline, and what I learned out of that lifetime will come through in like a quick download, and I'll have to quickly write it down just as a sort of perspective on what happened to me in this lifetime, what happened in that lifetime, and a comparison of how my different incarnations made it through and navigated things. And it's become very interesting. And most of the experiences I have are focused on me and not like something outside of myself. It's all about bettering myself and enhancing my own life. And it's not about finding out about lottery numbers or when the alien invasion is going to start or who's going to be president next or who the Arcturian council members are, or any kind of bullshit like that. It's just all about me becoming the best me I can and becoming more successful, because that was my intention from the very first time. So yeah, the information, I think that we can grab anything, we can write down a whole book, we can download a whole book while we're in these realms based on what we're connecting to. But I'd sure love to pull a physical one out back with me.
Yeah, that'd be something else, right? I mean, but it's kind of sort of the same thing where you're bringing, maybe the information is the thing, and it's up to you to be able to put it in the book. I don't know, in some sort of weird way. Let me finish this part here, because that's an interesting take. So we have these guys going in, pulling information. Let's say that they didn't find an actual book. They found information, okay? Right? They found information. They're the ones that need to put it down, scribe it. They set to work again and discover another vault. Uh-oh. And under that, a third. Oh, wow. Okay. So and think about this. This is also very interesting because part of Carl Jung's inner space work. So going right, we're talking about the internal consciousness, cosmoi or cosmos. When you go in there, Carl Jung tells you that in order to find things within your own self, you need to tunnel. So you dig a hole, you jump in that hole, you dig another hole, you jump in that hole, and you're able to, again, go through these altered states of consciousness and navigate your subconscious. It's called tunneling. So you go in the tunnel. And maybe that's why our friend Seymour Clay or Seymour Wieners, he was probably, was he actually physically tunneling? Or was he tunneling where he was sitting down, was like, I need to take a break. Well, let me go into the inner bowels of reality and navigate the tunnels of Set. And hey, here are my little elf friends. Hey, what's 2 + 2? And they're like, well, it's actually, and they just tell you the secrets of the universe, like whatever. But they said to under a third, the sun having now gained his meridian height, darts his rays to the center and shines on a white marble pedestal on which is a plate of gold. On this plate is a double triangle, and within the triangle some words they cannot understand. They therefore take the plate to Zerubbabel. There the whole mystery of masonry, as far as known to masons, is unveiled. What the masons had long been in search of is found. For the mysterious writing in a triangular form is the long lost sacred word of the master mason, which Solomon and King Hiram deposited there, as we have seen in the master's degree 402. And I think 402 is also used in the Typhonian OTO to equal 93 in their weird numerology. So this word Jabulon, Jabel-on, Hebrew, Assyrian, and Egyptian names of the sun is the logos of Plato and St. John, the omnific word, but the above compound name intended to bear the same import is substituted by modern Masons. It is communicated to the candidates in this way. The 3 principals and each 3 companions form the triangles, and each of the 3 takes his left hand companion by the right hand wrist and his right hand companion by the left hand wrist, forming 2 distinct triangles with the hands. Where's the spider stuff, man? So as we 3 did agree in peace, love, and unity, the sacred work to keep, so we 3 do agree in peace, love, and unity, the sacred word to search until we 3 or 3 such as we shall agree, this royal arch chapter to close. Where the hell is the freaking, maybe it's this guy right here, I don't know, but is this the only thing he sent me? Double check.
That reminds me of also an experience where this hole appeared in my room, and I was told that that is a knowledge rabbit hole, that you can go in it, but the deeper you go, the longer you're going to be in this realm tonight, unfolding the information that came through. And I said, you know what? I'm going to go in it. So I looked in there, and my face just stretched out down the rabbit hole, and my whole face was going down, deep down into this dark cavern that opened up into my floor. And I just had the intuitive feeling like, okay, that's going to be a lot. I should stop now. And I felt my face just coming back to my head. And when it did, this explosion occurred in my brain of I just knew there was these downloads coming through, and I was going to have to sift through a lot of information. And I went through like 4 or 5 different lifetimes. I was shown what's outside the astral realms, the creation floors. I saw these little elves painting reality. It was insane for hours. I couldn't move. I was just being downloaded with information. I was being shown different incarnations, and it probably the whole experience was about 4 or 5 hours, but it seemed like I was in there for days, just sitting on my bed, unable to move, information just coming through. So that's a pretty profound comparison when they say going down these holes and bringing back information from them.
It's all about poles and holes when it comes to the occult, bro.
Oh, yeah.
So after this, I go, because the guy goes, he talks about Jubulon in here, and I go, WTF is Jabulon? And he goes, no way, brother, man. It's the secret Masonic god. And then I talked and I go, the spider god. And then he sends me and he goes, yeah, exactly, that man, spider, cat. Because I asked him, I said, where does the man spider aspect come in? And then I put, damn, so Spider-Man is Masonic AF then. Get. That's what I said to him.
Yeah.
So
man.
think about that. Spider-Man, the whole concept of these Marvel universes, right? We're talking about the multi-realm, and if you think of string theory, what is that implying? That everything is what connected, almost like a spider web, a network of webs. And that was the whole thing with Corey Good and that other guy, where they talked about he's not the only one that talked about it, but he talked about the nuclear explosions and how they set off on this interconnected web throughout all reality. And these entities on the other side were able to pick up on that. And then they come back like, yo, what are you guys doing? You're not supposed to be messing around with nuclear missiles. Like, like you're going to blow yourselves up. So, and you have that whole aspect where, again, Kenneth Grant talks about how these nuclear test sites have ripped a rift in space and time, and these things are able to come through. So, again, just interesting connections. But think about Spider-Man and how much they push that. And I was listening to Michael Staley talk today on this lecture he was giving, where it's about what you're able to extract from these books, right? The occult knowledge you're able to, it's gnosis. So it's whatever it means to you, but then it's what you as a person do with that information that you extract from these books, and how that information is projected outwards, and it forms another realm. It forms another dimension from yours, from the next guy over, from the next guy over, down from that. And it just keeps going, and everyone's adding to this collective conscious. And maybe that's the multiverse. Because I always talk, you have the guy who, contemporary of Carl Jung, his name was Mundus Imaginalis. What the hell is Henry Corbin, where he talks about the Mundus Imaginalis, where it's between the imaginary and reality. It's like a small slit, the Mundus Imaginalis, and you're able to tap into that through the use of scrying or other techniques where you're able to pull out information. And maybe using these substances is part of being able to tap into that other realm, because it seems like things are blending together when you take these substances. And it feels like you're there, but not there. You know what I'm saying? Like, it feels weird, like almost like you don't belong, but maybe this physical form doesn't belong, but everything else does.
What's interesting is I'm starting to hear more and more people that have not had any type of profound experiences, aren't doing psychedelics or drugs of any kind, but they're having spiritual or even contact experiences. And I don't think it's just that we have access to the internet and more people are just coming out. I think more people are having strange experiences. I think there is some sort of consciousness phenomena occurring because of the awareness of high strangeness, because more people are becoming aware that things are not as we're being told. The information that shows like yours, shows like mine present, they open people's mind. They get people questioning things. And if their mind continues to open, that leads to sometimes belief in certain phenomena. And I think belief is the fuel for a lot of stuff. I think even if you didn't have belief, but you experienced something and a Bigfoot and a dog man talked to you and threatened to rip you apart in your mind when you're hunting one day, and then all of a sudden you start having all these experiences and you start to perceive, because that opened up something in your mind and you're like, oh shit, these things exist. And then your perception changes and you're able to perceive more of these intelligences or energies. You might start to see things around you. And it's a 100th monkey type thing. And I think it's happening more and more to people. And I think it also has something to do with the news telling us UFOs are real. This is one of our mainstream institutions. This gets into the consciousness of people saying, oh, well, if aliens are real, then this changes everything. And it changes something in their mind, and it opens up something in their mind. And it doesn't just have to be people who are spiritual or meditating or taking psychedelics. This is just happening for people, and it's not across the board yet, but it seems to be exponentially shifting more and more as time goes on, as more information comes out, as people become more aware of things get weird, seemingly.
You're cutting in and out a little bit, bro. Maybe it's the lizard people listening into our call. I know they were tapping in before we got on, right? We heard them come through, and this is why, dude. This is why I believe that Nick Cage is an interdimensional time traveler. That he also played what? He played Spider-Man, bro. He played one of the Spider-Men. And if we jump on the Spider-Man concept. And the fact that in the latest Spider-Man, it's been about what? About jumping into the Spideyverse. It's interdimensional now. Now they have these weapons that they're able to enter other realms, and there's different versions of that same person. So it's like, wait, what? Like, what? This is crazy. So the spider is quite literally controlling reality. If you think about that, if we zoom all the way out, what's it all about? That spider entity took over the seance of these downloads that the Typhonian OTO is getting, but then we have these movies depicting these Spider-Men at the center of reality, and even within their own Spider-Man, only a select few Spider-Men know about the multiverse, and they have like a secret society because there's one of them that controls it all. And obviously they start fighting.
Man, there's many layers to this unfolding right now. Conspiracy culture in general is being normalized and integrated into our entertainment and media, and these big players are being propped up. Tucker Carlson, Alex Jones is more popular than ever, even though he's canceled. Conspiracy culture is in now. It's like a normal thing that people are tapping into. So that, again, adds to the collective state of weirdness that we're experiencing right now, because if more people become more accepting that these things are really happening, and some of these conspiracies have unfolded in our reality, and some of the most up things that they couldn't imagine are unfolding right now, that changes thought patterns and it changes where we're collectively going.
100%. Was that 100 monkey theory? I like to call it the 100 homunculus theory, homunculi theory, where we get enough homunculi on board and we can start to control reality itself. But yeah, dude, I don't know. And I know we haven't talked about it, but we can talk about here in the last half of your newest documentary. It's going to be about the exploration of consciousness, the manipulation of reality, perhaps. What are you guys getting into, and how are you guys going about it? Have you guys made the God helmet yet? Are you hooking up with Ryan Burns?
I'd love to do that.
And doing the God helmet?
I will be hooking up with Ryan Burns. I'm not sure when, hopefully sometime later this year. We're also going to be going to Georgia. I'm going to be speaking at a Bigfoot conference, and we're going to go to a little Bigfoot expedition and interview a few folks there. But we're going to mainly mainly film in Colorado here. We're going to travel a little bit. We're going to go to Utah to Skinwalker, check that out. We're going to go to Georgia, South Carolina, and a couple of other places. But we're going to really try and do most of our filming here so that we don't have to rely too much on travel, just because expenses are tight and we're completely self-funded. And by the way, if you would like to help, please go to our website. We have a little donation box there. You can help with production of the film. But what we're planning on doing is we're going to interview a lot of folks, as many in person as we can. We have some great lined up already. I can't really give away anything because we want all these peoples that we're going to be in this next film to be a surprise for everybody. We got some great surprises for you. But we're going to focus on the nature of reality as it relates to some of the things we talked about tonight: altered states, actually near-death experiences, life after death. We're going to have a few people who have had near-death experiences come and discuss the intelligences they encountered on the other side and the information that they were given on the other side, as well as psychonauts, people who have psychedelic experiences, psychedelic experts, people who run ayahuasca ceremonies and things of that nature. And we're also going to have extraterrestrial contactees, people who have these profound contact experiences with non-human intelligences. We're also going to take it to the other side and see how much our military-industrial complex plays a role in the abduction phenomena. Are they taking people, dressing up in chicken suits and sticking things in their butt and doing horrible things to them? I don't know. It's a possibility. So we're going to have some folks who experience military abductions there as well. And we're just going to get into everything, man. We're going to connect some dots between the nature of reality, our experience here, what we consider angels and demons and extraterrestrials. Are they the same thing? Are they just archetypical energies? Are they egregores? Chicken or egg? Did we create them or did they create us? Who knows? So we're going to explore all that fun stuff in the upcoming documentary. So we're looking forward to it, man. We're going to have some fun with it.
What are your honest thoughts on these people that reach out to you? Because I'm sure they reach out to you more than they do to me. And these people, do you believe all the people who tell you that they were probed by these extraterrestrials? Or like, do you reserve some that you believe?
I don't believe any of them. I'll tell you that much.
Really?
But I consider it all. I don't put ultimate belief in anything that I encounter here. I put it all up in the air as it's possible. I consider it, but the things that I do have ultimate belief in, I rarely share with people. That I reserve that for me, because if I encounter new information the following day that changes that belief, I leave myself open to paradigm shifts. I leave myself open to new information and new possibilities all the time, but I consider it all. That's why I have so many crazy, insane guests on here. Yeah. I don't really think they're insane, but some of the information sounds crazy, sounds insane, sounds fantastic, but I give everybody a chance to present their truth, and I believe that everybody has a piece of truth. Everybody has a piece of the puzzle. Everybody's experience is true for them. Mm-hmm. So I like to hear the different experiences, compare them to my own, compare them to other people's experiences, and take away the pieces that I resonate with. And I hope the audience really does the same thing. So no, I don't believe any of the experiencers, but I consider them all. And I think they all, like I said, have a piece of the puzzle. I think there's few bad eggs out there that are out there just to get notoriety and just to get into this space and go on conferences and present their wacky information. But there's a lot of people who are just looking for answers. They don't understand what is happening to them. They're experiencing something. They're presenting it from their perspective, how they understand it, and they're brave enough to do so. So I'm grateful that they are. And that's what this show has been about from the beginning, is understanding the weirdest in our reality. And I think the best way to do that is talk to people who experience the weirdest in our reality. And then we can decipher for ourselves what the information is. So I have enough people on. I do 6 shows a week. I have enough people on and enough shows out there to maybe put some puzzle pieces together for people. So that's the way I view these interactions.
Damn, dude, 6 episodes a week, bro?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
That's almost an episode a day, dude. You're cranking them out like crazy, man. Yikes.
Yeah. I got to keep the lights on and bills paid and stuff, man.
Yeah, no, I feel you, bro. I feel you. But that's awesome, dude. Yeah, and I respect that you. And that's the thing, whenever you have people on, the audience automatically assumes that you believe what that person is talking about. It's like, no, we're not here for that. We're here to capture that information, present it. And I've always said I present the information, and what you do with it is up to you. I'm not responsible for any rabbit holes you trip down and you find yourself at 3 a.m, whatever like that. That's on you. But yeah, and this is, I was looking at the quantum computing Wikipedia, and a quantum computer, right, to end on this, where even these people are using the strangeness. They don't even understand what they're doing. It's like the quantum computer is a computer that takes advantage of quantum mechanical phenomenon. And then when you dive into quantum mechanics, it's like, wait a minute, this is a whole bunch of woo-woo stuff. This is right, action, spooky action at a distance type of thing, where they're messing around with these things, and they have, the only thing that's changed of the modern alchemist is that there's 4 walls and they're wearing a white lab coat. That's it. But they're doing some woo-woo stuff that they can't even explain themselves, like quantum entanglement, like quantum chemistry, quantum field theory, quantum technology, quantum information. They don't know what any of this stuff is, and they just add quantum on the front of it. And there you go, bro. It's like the occult.
Now, to close out on, I've had experiences through these plant medicine, through meditation, where when I come back, it seems like there are slight changes in my reality. There may be some slight changes in where I placed things in the house, how people are acting the next day. Seemingly some people change slightly. It's usually for the better. And there seems to be
Have I changed, bro?
Nah, you're still Juan. You're still the best, man.
Still a piece of shit. All right, got it.
But there have been these strange slight shifts in our reality, and I wonder if this is really occurring from me accessing these areas of my consciousness and these other quantum realms. Could I be making slight changes in my own reality? And if this is possible, if entities like CERN or these massive quantum computing tech companies are messing with the fabric of reality, how much are they changing things surrounding us? And how much power do we actually have on a daily basis to shift reality? And collectively, could we have the power, if we come to the collective understanding of our consciousness abilities, to shift reality collectively in some ways? And I think that we're seeing that right now, just because of the awareness people are coming to. The more people become aware of the corruption and bullshit coming down, the more it's like we dodge and weave it, and we were able to navigate the waters a little easier. It's kind of like time travel in a way.
In a way, it is. We're surfing that worldwide web of,
yes, sir,
whatever it
watch
is.
Watch out for them fucking spiders, man.
Watch out for I always say watch out for the interdimensional crackheads. That's what you got to be careful for out here. But Chris, thank you again for coming on, bro. Really appreciate you. I know we always get weird whenever I have you on. I'm sure I'll have you on here in the next few months at some point in time. Tell the people where they can find your podcast, documentary, all that good stuff.
Yes, sir. Thank you again for having me. This was great. Go watch the Forbidden documentary, Occult Louisiana, right now on Tubi. Get your popcorn. Get your favorite beverage, get your favorite narcotics, whatever you want to do to watch the movie. Chill, relax, enjoy. You can find Forbidden Knowledge News on all your podcast platforms. Website is forbiddenknowledge.news. If you'd like to help with the production of the film, just go to supportfkn.com. That's supportfkn.com, and you can make a donation there. Anything is greatly appreciated. Also, if you make a donation of $20 or more right now, you're going to get a download of the first film. You're also going to get a free PDF of Corey Hughes' book, A Warning from History, as well as your name in the credits of the upcoming film. So anything's greatly appreciated. Thank you, guys. And we're also on Rumble and Rockfin. So thank you, Juan.
Yeah, dude, send me that other link, the support link, or whichever links you want. Just email them over to me and I'll put them down in the description. But yeah, I appreciate you coming on. As always, everyone, make sure to like, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff. Call in 407-476-4606. Tell us about your spider experiences or something. Who cares? Call in, leave a 5-star review, tjojp.com. Get your homunculus owner's manual, your copy of the Chosen One comic book, copy of the Occultus Mundi, all that good stuff. As always, everyone, see you on the other side. Bye.